Welcome back to Dust and Ballads, where every tale of the Old West is told with dust, fire, and music. Tonight's story is about a lawman at the edge of time. Sheriff Harlan Cooper has worn his star longer than most men live to see. He's tired, his bones heavy, and the town whispers of his retirement. But when the notorious Vance gang rides back to Copper Junction to avenge their captured brother, the sheriff learns that the law isn't the badge on his chest. It's the courage to stand when no one else will. This is The Iron Sheriff, a classic American Western about duty, age, and the fight to protect a town that has forgotten how to be brave. Told in words, carried further by original ballads. Subscribe to Dust and Ballads, ring the bell and keep the lantern lit, because justice rides with us tonight. They call me Sheriff Harlan Cooper, and I've worn this star long enough to know it isn't made of tin so much as habits. I get up before the sun can decide whether it means to be kind. I shave with water that bites, and I walk Main Street slow enough to hear the boards complain. Copper Junction isn't much. 2 streets, a scatter of porches, a church that leans when the wind chooses a side, and a rail spur that promised the world and then settled for stopping here when the engine felt tired. I pinned this badge on the day the town couldn't find anyone else stubborn enough. That was 21 summers ago. I've been thinking of taking it off each spring since, but springs are liars. Morning smell of coffee and mesquite. Pete Monroe's blacksmith shop starts singing metal before the roosters try their weak theology. Mrs. Dallow's awning never sits right. She climbs a stool and tames it with clothespins like a schoolmarm correcting verbs. I tip my hat. She scolds me to eat breakfast. I promise I will and forget on purpose. The jail keeps a desert chill even in July, and the key squeaks like a rat with opinions. Above the gun rack, I keep a paper I wrote to myself the day I first swore. Keep the peace. Keep your word. Keep your temper. I've managed 2 out of 3 on days when the sky behaved. I am, as people like to remark when they want to be polite about ending things, due to retire. There's a cabin up by Cotton Creek where fence posts lean like old men trading stories, and I daydream about setting them upright. But a man doesn't unlearn his duty because calendars have more sense than knees. You leave the trail when the trail stops, not when your legs propose it. 3 months ago, we laid hands on Eddie Vance without earning any songs for it. He's the youngest of the Vance boys, mouth first, eyes second, and a spine that borrows from other men's violence. He and 2 companions stopped the Red Bluff mail coach, and though they meant to rob time rather than murder it, time pushed back. The driver took a bullet of the kind you live with, and a little girl. Well, her father handed me the ribbon from her hair with the face of a man who has no more sentences left. I keep that ribbon in my desk. The law forgets itself if it doesn't keep a small grief close. We found Eddie asleep in the hay above Caffrey's livery, dreaming the sort of dream where you never have to wake and pay. I told him I'd count to 1, and he climbed down with his hands open like the gospel he never read. He laughed when the irons clicked. Said Bill and Cole would ride for him, and the first thing they'd collect would be my badge. The trial was the kind that wastes no words. Judge McKean came over from Dry Creek, asked our best witnesses to stand upright, and gave Eddie 25 years for robbery, blood, and bragging at the wrong hour. When the prison wagon rattled away, Eddie pressed his forehead to the bars and told me, "My brothers are the sky." I told him I'd learned to read weather in a worse school than the one that taught him courage. For a while after that, Copper Junction remembered how to be ordinary. Men drank slower and paid faster. Cards flipped like they belonged to the Lord. I let myself think about fence posts again. Then Lydia Pike at the Telegraph came across Maine with paper like a hot coal. "From Dos Cielos," she said, bonnet shadow not hiding the flint in her eyes. Marshall sighted the Vance outfit riding east before dawn. 5 men, enough powder to make a point. He figures they're swinging south along the cottonwoods. South means us. I folded the strip once, put it in the desk beside the ribbon, and breathed the way you do before stepping into river water, full and ready. I posted a note at the church door. town meeting, 5 o'clock, because folks obey printed ink longer than spoken courage. I walked the roofs and back alleys, counting doors, counting routes, counting the ways a man could make a coward of the law if the law blinked too long. Deputy Tom Jessup came in at noon with dust to his knees and a question in his face. "You scared?" I asked to save him the trouble. "I don't know how to be scared properly," he said. "The proper kind is the brave kind," I told him. "You move anyway." Pastor Griggs said prayer at 5. I heard faith in it and hoped God did too. The benches were packed as if Sunday had lost its way and stumbled into Tuesday. I stood where the window light made a stripe across my chest and laid things out like tools. "Vance men are riding. They'll want the jail or my funeral. We'll give them neither." Murmurs. I cut them with my hand. Families home, shutters down, water pails full, 2 steady men per roofline, no rifles unless I say so. Tom takes the rail spur, Cal the blacksmith goes to the livery roof. Pete Monroe up the belfry with the rope, no heroics. We show them the town weighs more than their pride. Bo Tuttle wanted to know if that meant hiding. "It means living," I said. "We can do the dying later if we have to." Dusk found me on the East Ridge, where you can watch the road sigh toward town. The stars had come shy and early. Dust rose far off like someone trying to erase a sentence. Then they slid into view. 5 riders, 1 horse carrying a man who trusted his legend too much. They stopped beyond friendly range and sent a fellow forward waving a shirt that had forgotten how to be white. "You the law?" he called. "I'm what's left," I said. "Name's Cole Vance. We'll come at sunup for what's ours." "And know your brother, or your reputation?" I asked. "Respect," he said, smiling like a blade. "Respect is purchased with work and patience," I told him. "You brought neither." He rode back without answering, because his answers are always bullets. I watched their camp through the thin hours. The coyotes had better manners than that fire did. Before morning, I rode slow through Copper Junction, tapping doors with a knuckle and hearing confidence echo back. I set Tom by the spur, 2 steady hands in the bank cellar with lanterns, Cal across the livery roof, and Pete at the bell. I took the middle of Maine because someone has to. They showed when the sun did, punctual as vanity. 5 of them across the street's mouth, horses walking that prideful walk. Cole in the center, Bill to his right, a man I didn't know to his left, and 2 behind with rifles like long bad ideas. The town became eyes. You can feel it, how wood, paint, and dust learn to watch at once. "Morning," I said, because civilization is a fragile thing, and I like to pretend I carry some. "We'll be taking Eddie," Cole said. An interest for the insult. "Eddie's in Yuma," I said. "If you mean to drag my town there with you, you'll need better rope." Bill spat and grinned. The unknown man made a slow loop to my left, and the 2 in back shouldered their rifles like they meant to speak wisdom. I let my lungs finish a breath, then took 2 steps forward, so the afternoon we hadn't earned wouldn't arrive early. First shot was mine, into the dirt by the flanker's horse, enough to make the animal tell its rider a story about caution. Second shot, from the roof, clipped a rifle away from a hand that didn't deserve it. Mrs. Dallow's awning snapped in the wind, and I thought, if today becomes legend, let it include that. Cole fired tight and mean, shaving the iron of the hitching rail by my thigh. I put a slug through the leather by his shoulder to show him I could write my name on him if I had to. The bell tolled once. The street remembered to exhale. It didn't last. Real fights don't. They finish rude and quick. A rear rifleman found his courage and sent a shot at the church, nicking the belfry. Pete coughed, swore like a deacon, and rang the rope again just to prove the sound was thicker than bullets. Tom took a crease on the shoulder and kept working like a man hammering fence staples. Rhythmic, sure, inevitable. The flanker tried once more, and I let the smoke hide my feet until he forgot to count them. He went down into the dirt face first and found out pride tastes like clay. Cole read the town then, the roofs, the windows, the way men held their hands. His eyes said he preferred a different book. "We'll be back," he promised, because promises cost nothing when you don't intend to pay. "Bring more math," I said. They peeled away with that pace cowards borrow from dignity. Not quite running, not quite staying. I didn't fire at their backs. The law doesn't write its name in a man's spine unless it must. When the dust settled, Copper Junction did the human thing and came outside to narrate what they had almost seen. I checked Tom's shoulder. "It'll scar pretty," I said. He grinned like boys do when Payne finally agrees to split the bill. Lydia brought me a fresh strip from the wire. Quarry at Red Bluff missing dynamite. 2 crates. That's a lot of punctuation for a small town. "Where do you want me?" she asked. "Behind your desk," I said. "Listening hard." "Always am," she said, and left like a telegram with legs. I spent the afternoon walking the edges of the day. Beneath the rail ties, I found a perfect line for a fuse if a man cared to draw it. Behind the bank, I found the cellar door's hinges too clean. Inside the church, I laid my palm on the bell rope and felt splinters like a catechism. Pastor Griggs polished a cup so fervently I forgave him his sermon. Near midnight, Tom came by with a face that had learned something since morning. "I can take the rail watch," he said. "You can sit and breathe and tell the Lord you'd like to keep doing both," I said. "I'll make the rounds." "Sheriff," he said, and hesitated on the step where boys choose to stay boys or not. "If they toss dynamite and run, what do we do?" "We don't let them decide who we are," I said, "even if they decide what breaks." He nodded, the kind of nod that ties something inside tighter than fear can loosen. I found the fuse before dawn, neat as a sermon, laid under a plank by the spur. 2 sticks, caps snug, confidence sloppy. I breathed until my heartbeat remembered its manners and eased the teeth out of the caps. The fuse went into my pocket with the little girl's ribbon, because reminders ought to travel together. The second day began like honest work. Bread smell from the bakery walked up Main and shook me by the shoulders. Cal hammered iron into apology. The sky brightened to that hard blue that means it won't do you any favors. I took my place in the middle of the street again and waited for men who only know one direction. They came late, which is another way of saying they came thinking. 4 now. One man had stayed behind with his lesson or his wound. Cole at the point, Bill tucked mean as ever, a new hat where the flanker used to be, and another rider with saddlebags that hung careful like a liar's eyelids. I looked at those bags the way a crow looks at a shiny thing too still. "Morning," I said, and let the calm walk around in my voice. "End's different," Cole said. "I brought ink this time." "You brought matches," I said. "You're not good at reading." He smiled and touched the bag throat with 2 fingers. The town made a single sound, quiet and long. Somewhere a dog quit lying and admitted it was a dog. Pete took a turn on the bell rope and the note rolled out like a law that doesn't require translation. "Cole," I said, so only the front of his skull had to listen. "You throw that and you write your name in pieces you won't be able to pick up." He glanced past me at the bank, up at the bell, over at the livery, measuring futures. His fingers halted. Bill's jaw worked. The 4th rider whispered something to Jesus, as if Jesus liked being a partner to fools. I eased my pistol's hammer with the pad of my thumb and let the sight stay low. The roofs behind me held men with rifles who had learned restraint in one hard morning. The doors held families who had learned that courage can be quiet. "Don't be a story," I told Cole. "Be a man." He moved, then stopped, and the whole day paused so hard I could hear the flour settles in Mrs. Dallow's bin across the street. He took his hand off the bag. His eyes said, "Not yet, but yes." I believed him. That's the problem with reading weather. You still have to build a roof. He rode out with the others like a storm, deciding to circle once more before it breaks. I let my breath finish, and then I set the town to work. Cal and Pete reinforced the belfry ladder with iron straps. 2 men I trusted lifted floorboards in the bank cellar and found nothing yet, which is the most dangerous thing a cellar can hold. I wrote letters, one to the marshal in Dos Cielos, asking him to please be closer to here than he likes. One to the warden at Yuma, reminding him not to let Eddie go on account of any brotherly mathematics. One to Judge McKean saying simply, "Your gavel should be audible from Copper Junction." I didn't add for once, because I try to save my temper for the parts that need it. Evening closed like a careful lid. The town breathed the way a man does when his pain quits announcing itself. Tom sat on the jail step next to me with his bandage clean and his questions folded tidy. "Are you ever afraid?" he asked. "Always," I said. "Fear tells me where to stand." "Where do we stand now?" "Between them and everyone else," I said. "Same as yesterday, same as tomorrow." He thought about that until the stars had enough company. I walked the street one more time, left hand skimming hitching posts and porches like I could read splinters for prophecy. At my office, I took down the paper above the rack and added a fourth line in a hand that has learned not to shake when it shouldn't, and keep standing. I slept an hour on the cot and woke with the sunrise arguing with the window. I brewed coffee that remembered the war and took it black because cream is for days with cake. Then I stepped outside and watched Copper Junction wake to what it had chosen, ordinary courage. I remembered the ribbon and put it in my pocket again. A sheriff should pick his witnesses. By the time the first trainless wind wandered down the spur, I had the roofs posted, the doors latched, the bell rope oiled, and the street swept as if neatness could dissuade violence. I'm old enough to know it can't. I'm old enough to act like it might. If you were standing there, you'd say nothing was happening. That's how days like this begin. Quiet, practicing their noise. I felt the tremor before I heard hooves. Not fear, anticipation that had lost its patience. The Vance ride came around the bend for the last of their circles, and I took my place in the center of the dirt, because a man should be where he is visible, when history remembers its eyesight.
And the air have carved their mark on me, but I still guard this dusty street. The gang rides in with fire and lead, but my town won't bow, it won't be fed. I'm the Iron Sheriff, old but true. My star still shines, my word holds true. Through smoke and fear, I'll take my stand. Law and honor in my hand. They came for blood, they came for pride, but Copper Junction will decide. Behind the doors the children hide, and I will not step aside. I'm the Iron Sheriff, old but true. My star still shines, my word holds true. Through smoke and fear, I'll take my stand. Law and honor in my hand. I'm the Iron Sheriff, old but true. My star still shines, my word holds too. Through smoke and fear, I'll take my stand. Law and honor in my hand. I'm the Iron Sheriff, old but true. My star still shines, my word holds true. Through smoke and fear, I'll take my stand.
The sun rose clean and merciless, turning Copper Junction into a stage nobody wanted, but everybody watched. I stood in the middle of Main Street, boots planted, badge heavy on my vest, heart steady in a way only age can teach. The Vance gang rode in as promised, 4 this time. Cole at the point, Bill chewing hate like tobacco, 2 more riding with saddlebags too heavy for grain. I already knew what they carried. Dynamite rattles like guilt when you've heard enough of it. They drew up where the street narrows, dust wrapping them like cloaks. Windows filled with eyes, but not rifles. That was my order, restraint. Law is measured by patience first, bullets second. Cole's voice cracked the silence. Old man, this ends today. Either Eddie walks free or Copper Junction burns. I let the words hang. Eddie's rotting in Yuma. The only thing walking free today is your chance to turn around. Bill spat in the dust. Then we'll bury this town with its sheriff. He jerked the reins and I saw his brother's hand slide to the saddlebag mouth. The brass glint of a blasting cap winked at me like sin. Cole, I said, loud enough for the windows to hear, that powder doesn't just kill me, it kills your name. You'll be remembered as a fool who blew himself apart. For a heartbeat, his hand froze. He wanted to believe he was more than a thug, more than a headline for tomorrow's sermon, but pride is louder than wisdom. His fingers closed again. I raised my Colt and fired, not at him, not yet, but at the ground by his horse. The animal shrieked, rearing back, the saddlebag jolting. The cap slipped, one stick tumbling into the dust. Every soul in Copper Junction gasped like one body. Bill grabbed for the fuse with shaking hands. Tom Jessup, bleeding shoulder and all, fired from the roof and clipped Bill's hat clean. He stumbled, cursed, dropped the match he meant to strike. The other riders panicked. One bolted, horse carrying him clear out of town. The second pulled iron, but too slow. Cal's shot from the livery roof barked, and the man went down clutching a shoulder that wouldn't lift again. Cole and Bill remained, dust swirling around them like judgment. Cole roared, charging forward, gun flashing. My shot caught his hand, sending his pistol into the dirt. He reined hard, rage shaking every bone in his body. Bill raised his rifle and I leveled mine, sight steady. For a moment, the whole world narrowed to 2 old men, one law, one outlaw, both too stubborn for mercy. My trigger broke first. Bill dropped, his rifle clattering against the hardpan. Cole stared at him, then at me, eyes wide, chest heaving. The dynamite lay at his boot, fuse dangling. The crowd behind me, my town, waited. The bell above tolled once, slow and heavy, like it already knew the verdict. Cole dismounted, shoulders slumped. He kicked the dynamite aside and raised his hands. The street exhaled all at once, shutters opening, doors creaking. Copper Junction had chosen not to die. We bound Cole Vance in irons before noon, his mouth full of curses, his eyes full of something heavier. I sent him south to Yuma with a letter pinned to his chest. Keep him longer than the sky lasts. The town swept its porches, poured its water, and found courage in chores. Tom sat beside me on the jailhouse step, pale but grinning. You think that's the last of them? He asked. No, I said, but we're ready now. He looked at me long. How do you keep standing when the years say stop? I tapped the badge. Because this star ain't tin, it's iron. And iron doesn't bend to time, it bends time to duty. That night the bell tolled once more, but not in fear. It tolled because Copper Junction was still standing, and so was I.
The dust will fade, the night will end, the law remains where hearts defend. A sheriff's star may lose its glow, but courage lives in all we know. Law in the dust, it will remain through years of loss, through years of pain. The iron hand, the steady eye, keeps the town beneath the sky. If I should fall, another will rise. The truth won't break, the desert lies. Age may bend these bones of mine, but honor stands the test of time. Law in the dust, it will remain through every storm, through every name. The iron chef, tried and true, I kept my oath, I saw it through.
And so Copper Junction lived another day because one man chose to stand when others faltered. Sheriff Harlan Cooper may be old, but the law is iron when carried in a steady hand. If you rode with us tonight, subscribe to Dust and Ballads, leave a comment with the word iron, and share your favorite moment from this story. Watch the soundtrack of this tale and keep the lantern lit for our next Western story with original music.